my water just broke. I felt like things really intensified.
She was right there and she was coming.
It was an amazing feeling.
I'm gonna cry just thinking about it. I could feel her head.
We heard her cry. We were squeezing hands and she was screaming.
I'm Bryn Hunt-Palmer, and you're listening to The Birth Hour. This podcast is designed as a safe place for women to come together to share their childbirth stories. Stick around and join us to hear informative and empowering birth journeys from women all over the world. Today's episode is sponsored by Britax Child Safety, Inc. For over 50 years, Britax has been focused on safety you can trust from the very first day. They welcome new moms and dads to parenthood with award-winning car seats and strollers for every lifestyle while providing extra confidence for the journey ahead. At the end of today's episode, I'll talk with Britax safety advocate Sarah Tilton all about the importance of rear facing for your baby. Learn more about Britax products and safety tips at us.britax.com. I want to say a big thank you to all of our listener supporters via Patreon. We're at over 750 patrons and have a goal of hitting 1,000, which we're going to do a huge giveaway just for our patrons, as well as launching a second podcast where my husband interviews partners on their perspective of the birth story. That special podcast will be available only to patrons at a certain level. I'm so excited about that. But becoming a patron today comes with other fun things like access to all of our archived episodes. That's over 300 additional episodes not available to the public, as well as monthly bonus content, and then membership in our online Facebook group that is so supportive, so informative. It's just the best place to be on the internet, in my opinion. So if you're interested in becoming a listener supporter, head over to patreon.com/birthhour or thebirthhour.com/support. And then the last announcement is our Know Your Options childbirth course is still available at $100 off with the coupon code 100OFF. And you can get all the information about that course and what it includes. It's over 12 modules of content, plus a bonus course all about breastfeeding that you can find on thebirthhour.com by going to the courses tab and clicking on Know Your Options childbirth course. Again, that coupon code is 100OFF for $100 off that course membership. Today's birth story guest is Tiara. Tiara is going to share her experience being active duty Navy and planning for a home birth. Hi, Tiara. Welcome to the Birth Hour. Thanks for coming on the podcast today.
Hi, Bryn. Thanks for having me.
Can you tell listeners a little bit about you and your family?
Yes, I'm active duty Navy. I'm stationed in Virginia. I'm with my husband and our new daughter, Zoe.
All right. Well, I'm excited to hear Zoe's story. So let's start with finding out you were pregnant and then how your pregnancy went.
I actually found out that I was pregnant on Father's Day last year.
Aww.
I wasn't feeling any certain way. I just noticed because I used an app to track my cycle, and it was pretty regular. I realized that I had not had one. And it was Father's Day, and we were joking around. It was like mid-afternoon. I was like, you know what? You should go and get a test. Like, I kept them regularly, but I didn't have any. So my husband left and went to Walgreens and got a test, but he took like extra long. He got food. Like, we weren't really worried. And I took one of the tests. He bought one that had digital and then just the plus or minus ones too. They were in the same pack. I took one that was just the regular lines, and it immediately turned before I could even stand up. I was like, oh no, this one must be broken. So I took another, which was the digital one, and the same thing, like before I could even stand up, it turned and said pregnant. And I was like, again, something's wrong with these. So I took a third test and the same thing again. And I came out the bathroom. My husband was I was in my master bathroom, and I came out and I was like, so it's in there on the sink. And it was 2. So he's like, you took this many? And it said pregnant. And he was really excited. We were both really excited. But I was like, no, these could be wrong though. Like, there's a such thing as a false positive. Like, I still was in denial, but he was celebrating.
Yeah, that's denial when even the digital one is super fast to come back. Because I feel like those take forever.
Yes. And that's normally, like, I've used them before just to be sure. And it would blink and blink and blink. And that was the fast. So I was like, okay, you must have got a defective box. But there was nothing defective about that box at all.
Yeah. So once it kind of, the reality set in, how did you feel?
I felt really good. I had like this elated feeling, like I was like really happy. We have been married since December of 2015. And we weren't really trying, but we weren't really preventing it either. With me being in the Navy, I had just left my ship. I had been on various deployments for the last 5 years throughout our marriage. So it was the first time like I was going to be on shore duty and not be slated to do any deployment or anything. So we were planning on starting a family, but I just didn't know that between April and then finding out in June that I would get pregnant. So I was really excited, but I was kind of fearful because I had just got to my new command and I didn't want to be, I didn't want it to hurt me in a way. They had just made me a supervisor and I had only been there 3 to 4 months and everyone was talking highly of me. They're like, you're a quick learner and all these positive things, but I didn't want the negative Navy culture of how we're treated, how women are treated when they become pregnant, that, it was going to be something negative. So I was excited, but then I was also fearful to tell someone on Monday. But I ended up telling my chief, I went to her, we were really close, and I said, I think I might be pregnant. And she even went with me to our medical to get a test. She held my hand and was like, you're still going to be my supervisor. Nothing's going to change. And I got the letter and she was really excited. She calls my daughter Zoe her Navy grandbaby. But I like all those fears like left once I had her on my side and that I wasn't going to be, I guess, badly talked about.
Yeah, that's hard to navigate for sure. Did you wait to tell everyone that you were pregnant until you were further along?
Yes. I was scared of, I was fearful of a miscarriage, naturally. And when I told her, she said she didn't have to tell anyone but our division officer. And I had the letter. So she just made a copy of that, gave it to him and let him know as well that I didn't want to inform anyone until I was in the clear. I didn't tell my family. My husband's the only child, so he was very excited and ready to tell his dad and his family. His dad had been asking for a grandchild for, I think, since the day we got married. Like he was ready to be a grandfather. So, and with his family being so small, they were just ready for a baby. So I had waited until a week before my 24th birthday, which was in August, until I actually informed everyone and let people know in my office that I was pregnant.
And how were you feeling? How did your pregnancy go?
In the beginning, I think it was easy. I didn't have, at least I guess the beginning for me would be the unknown when I didn't know. But it seemed like once I found out that I was, my body did a shift and I was sick all the time. I had, can't even pronounce it, HG.
Mm-hmm.
So I was sick all the time. Like I couldn't keep anything down. I mostly survived off of Pedialyte, Gatorade, water, ice chips, because it was in the summer. Like I was in and out the hospital a lot. And it was just really tough because I still wanted to be that excellent sailor that I've always been. But I also was struggling with just day to day being in the office and sitting there and feeling sick. But I didn't want to leave. I didn't want to leave work. And then, oh, well, she's not here again. She's sick again. So it was very hard. And that lasted until my third trimester. And then after that, I didn't really have anything until the birth. And it came back full force.
So you had, it's hyperemesis gravidarum. I think that's how you say it. HG is much easier. But did you ever have to get any like IV fluids or anything like that?
I did. And that was a first for me. I've never been hospitalized or anything like that. And that was like really scary. The first time, I didn't even know that I was dehydrated.
Yeah.
So I had went a couple of times and it just seemed like it was just like a reoccurring thing that I would go and the front staff knew me. I'm like, hey, here again. And every time I saw a new provider, I was like, this is the arm you want to get. Like I would point to my left arm. I'm like, it's this arm. This is a good vein. You won't be able to get my right arm. Like I just knew the process. and I would sit there and just feel like really bad. And it seemed like no matter how much fluid I was taking in, because I was like, okay, maybe if I drink so much fluid, I won't have to go through this. But it was like my body had a different plan.
And you said that it was worse towards the end as well?
No, it eased up at the end.
Okay.
Closer to my showers, because I had two separate baby showers for our families, because my husband's from Philly and then I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio. So we had two separate ones, and just to make sure all the family could be in attendance. And when I went to those, because I flew and we drove to Philly from Virginia, I wasn't sick then. I was fine. I was actually able to eat, and I was so happy. I had missed so many of my favorite foods. So I was able to eat, and it was fine. It didn't come back till the day started going through labor.
All right. And what type of care provider did you choose, or what types of things did you do to prepare for birth?
So to prepare for birth, when I found out you're naturally in the military, you're naturally assigned a care provider with the Navy's midwives, the military midwives that see all of us. But I wanted to do a home birth. Though I still saw the military midwives for all of my exams and tests like that, so it's covered through insurance, I went on my own and joined a Hampton Roads Facebook group, and I sought out a midwife through them, through like making a post and everyone making recommendations. And I got a recommendation from a active duty Air Force woman, and she recommended Cindy, who was my midwife. And I ended up paying Cindy out of pocket. And the way my care was throughout my pregnancy, I would have some days when it started getting closer to giving birth, I would see both midwives back to back. I would see maybe the military midwife on Monday, and then Wednesday I had an appointment with Cindy. And I just kept up the co-care. They did all my tests, like my gestational diabetes test, anything that needed to do with testing, sonograms. So it was paid for. And then Cindy, I just did my regular prenatal visits and made sure that the information from the results were sent over to her.
That sounds really great. Did you feel good about that type of care?
Yes, I was really excited because I kind of got to see the best of both. I like that with the military, they were already paying for things. And Cindy actually used to be a military midwife.
Oh, that's cool.
She had graduated and everything, got hired. She used to work at one of our hospitals on a base. And then she decided to open up her own care. So she was already a CNM. She's the only one in our area. So she was really sought out. Once we met, I immediately made sure I paid and was on her schedule, because with her being the only one that accepts TRICARE, our insurance and everything, and her being the only CNM, she is really hard to get sometimes. So I went ahead and did that. But I did like my appointments with Cindy were more patient-based. We sat there, we spoke about my husband. He's a EMT. We spoke about me. We spoke about past trauma. We spoke about it wasn't just baby. It wasn't just how she's growing, how she's doing. Is she kicking? Those appointments lasted an hour, and I got to know her and the rest of her birth team on a more personal level than when I just went to the military facility. When I did, I knew I would be out of the office in 15, 30 minutes. It was come in, let me check your weight, deblouse, take off your boots, let me check your weight, let's listen to baby. How is your nausea? Here's some medicine. And I wasn't really for taking the medicine. So that was something too. That's probably why I really suffered, because I wasn't really for keep continuously having to take medicine. I wanted to take ginger and just kind of tough it out. But those appointments weren't as personal. They didn't know me as well as Cindy did.
Yeah, it's more the medical side of things, and midwifery care often is more about how you're feeling emotionally and how everything's going with your family and that kind of stuff, right?
Yes, it seemed like I was getting a little bit of therapy. Because I couldn't just give a yes, no answer. Cindy would look at me and kind of dive deeper.
Mm-hmm.
So are you eating? And I'm like, yes. And she's like, well, what are you eating?
Yeah.
Make sure you're eating this. And proteins, and I'm actually a sexual assault survivor. So she went into that and making sure that I'm not triggered or, anything like anything. And it was just amazing to have someone not just care about my birth, but also me as a person.
Mm-hmm. That's great. I love that. I hope that becomes more and more widespread for sure.
I do too, because you can't really know who you're dealing with. My fear was, if I did go to the hospital, was with me being a Black woman, am I going to survive this? Am I going to be treated with respect? Am I going to be heard? And a part of that, of me choosing a home birth, was so I wasn't re-triggered. I wasn't really heard that much with my sexual assault. It actually happened in the Navy. And I just wanted to be heard. I wanted to be validated. I didn't want me to say I'm in pain or I feel this way. And they're like, no, you're fine. You're fine. Like I wanted to make sure that I was safe.
Yeah. So did you talk to her about those concerns as well?
Yes, Cindy was always validating what I felt and making sure that I not only talked to her, but I talked to my doula and voiced any concerns I had with her. And when we went over my birth preferences, I made sure to say, because I had heard things and I watched a couple documentaries, and I just wanted like consent to be asked before anything. Can I, even when she would want to hear my baby's heart turn, she would ask, I'm going to touch you right now. And is that okay? And I'm like, yes. Like something about that, it's kind of like my birth kind of healed my sexual trauma in a way.
Yeah.
That relationship I had with Cindy and them, something about it made me feel like I'm in control now. I have power over what happens to my body.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've heard that before, that having, especially, I think it's almost always been a midwife when I've heard it, just the way that they talk to you about your body and treat you and your body during the care can be really healing for all types of, maybe past experiences, even with medical providers or sexual trauma, to have somebody who really just exudes so much respect for you and your body through your care.
Yes, and it's kind of odd to me because when I went through, I had a safe kit done, which is a full sexual assault kit after a sexual assault. And there was no, can I touch you? Or I'm going to do this, or a pause and a act, or, inform you of what was going to happen next. And I felt like at that moment it should have, but it wasn't. So yes, that relationship I had with Cindy and that care that she gave her, along with her other midwife and assistant, that really helped me during the birth and even after now.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. I really appreciate you being so open about that. All right. Well, if there's not anything else from your pregnancy that you want to share, we can hear about the birth.
My labor started on Sunday evening, and I had I guess it was the mucus plug. It was kind of jello-y and weird. It was kind of like discharge, but it wasn't. And at the time, I had always, if something weird happened to my body or anything like that, I had Cindy's phone number and I had my doula's phone number to be able to stop and take a picture or ask questions. And they would always respond back immediately. If they didn't, the next morning, and they would affirm me like, oh no, that's normal. Or this is what this is. And I wasn't sure, since it was my first time giving birth, what it would feel like, I guess, labor starting, or what I was supposed to be looking for. I kept hearing about a mucus plug, and I'm like, okay, but what is that? What is a mucus plug? So I think that's what I was losing. It happened to be, starts Sunday. Monday came, and I started getting malcontractions, and they kind of were just reminded me of my cycle, like my regular menstrual cycle. It was like, okay, it's not that bad. And I remember Katie, who is also a CNM, but she works coincide Cindy, just said, if it doesn't make you want to jump out your skin, you can ignore it. So I ended up ignoring it, and I was like, it's okay. It's not that bad. And that was kind of earlier in the day. And then closer to at night, it got really tough. I ended up watching a couple movies on Disney Plus. I remember I watched Moana, Princess and the Frog, both 101 Dalmatian movies. And I would just fall asleep before the movie kind of even got to like the climax or anything. Like I would fall asleep. So I was still able to sleep. So I thought, it's not that big of a deal. And my husband was working nights. So I would just text him and tell him the things I was feeling. And he advised me that maybe I should call my doula. So I called her, and she lived over an hour away, like 45 minutes to an hour away. But she drove and she stayed with me. And she brought peppermint and had me smelling peppermint because it felt like the pressure waves were getting more intense. So I ended up, we were on my couch, and she came and she put up fairy lights around my couch. She put on this playlist from YouTube that she loved. And it was just like she transformed my entire living room. From the time I was upstairs getting my robe, I come back downstairs and my living room was transformed into like a tranquil environment. And it was just so peaceful. And she had my husband put rice in a sock and warm it up to apply to my back because it felt like my back was like tearing in two. But it still was like pretty mild. It was okay. I still was able to sleep. Like I wouldn't even know that I fell asleep. I would drift off, and it'd be one time I wake up, I check my phone, and I'm like, oh, it's been like 3 hours. So that happened all of Monday. She ended up going home Tuesday. My labor just stopped. Tuesday morning to the afternoon, it just stopped. While my husband left, my doula instructed my husband, Devon, to go and get me some protein drink because I just didn't have an appetite. She had tried to get me to eat some crackers with peanut butter. I just didn't feel hungry and I hadn't eaten anything. So she thought maybe some protein of some Ensure would help. So I noticed that my labor just stalled out. Like nothing happened and I was fine. I was actually cleaning my house and she was begging me to sit down, but I can't. I'm such a busybody. So I continued to move around and try to get things back again. So we tried a bunch of different things. We tried to do spinning babies, and we also tried to do the Bailey circuit or Bradley circuit.
Mm-hmm. Bradley, I think.
Yes. We did all that to try to get it to pick back up, but it didn't. So I told her it was fine that she go ahead and leave. My husband is also in school for respiratory therapy, so he needed to go to class at noon, I think, or 1. So I just kind of like, I don't like people waiting on me. It kind of felt like I was like kind of being expected to perform, like something should happen. All these people, or these 2 people, are sitting here putting their life on hold, like something should be happening. So I sent my husband to class and I sent Tiara home, my doula. And I just went back to laying down and watching Disney movies or anything that I could watch. At about 3, because that was the time my husband would get out of class, I started to get pressure waves. It started to feel like they were coming again and they were a little bit more intense. So that happened and I ended up calling my doula again and telling her, like, I'm sure didn't really want to call her. She has young children herself, and me, I think about other people even when I should be the center of what's going on. So I kept thinking, no, I don't want to call her yet. I don't want to call her. My husband was on his way home, and he's like, I think you should call her. Like, I think you should call her. I'm like, no, I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait it out. He comes and immediately starts applying pressure to my back and getting the sock and putting it on my back and really kneading out anything he could do, he was trying to do. He was also kind of scared because he can't see me in pain, so he was really nervous. But I ended up calling my doula. She came back, and her and my husband took turns, and she was thinking we should call my midwife and let her know what's going on. So I said, okay, well, we'll call Cindy. Somehow I ended up falling asleep again. It was almost to me as if I was like just passing out. So for lack of better words. So I ended up falling asleep again. And when I woke up, It was at least 6 o'clock, and my midwife was there. And I had been at this for a couple of hours now, at least from the morning until 6. And the way my body felt, I was like, I had to have made progress. I feel like I made progress. Like I feel different, like something feels like it's happening, like she'll be here any moment. My midwife was asking me if I wanted to get checked, and I didn't want any checks throughout my pregnancy. I didn't want to be swept. I didn't want any of that. So when she asked me, I thought about it and I said, yes, like check me. Like I was kind of begging her, like, yes, check me. Like I feel like I'm going to push. She checked me and I was at a 5. And I was like, yes, I'm at a 5. Like in my head, I'm like, okay, only 5 more to go. So I kept going, and she was telling me, to really get it going, you should get up and do the circuit again. And maybe, because I live in a townhouse, like maybe walk the stairs and do lunges on the stairs and get up and dance. They knew I loved Beyonce, so they was like, maybe you need to like go dance to Beyonce, get yourself moving to get labor back started. So I ended up getting up, and I did a bunch of things. Me and my husband, and I really was dreading it. Like, I'm not sure why, but my motivation and my energy just kind of left. So I ended up getting up and doing things, and birth photographer came, and out of nowhere, there was so many people in our house. But I ended up doing more things, and the time went on, and it was 2 a.m, I want to say, and I got checked again, but this time by Katie, the other nurse midwife, and I was only at a 6. I felt so defeated because I went from at least 6 p.m. to 2 a.m. and I had only progressed 1 centimeter. And I started to cry, and I just felt like I wasn't doing something right, that I wasn't going to get the birth I wanted, which at the end of the day, I knew in my head that as long as I'm healthy and baby's healthy, that it's good, and that is the birth that I want, was a healthy baby and a healthy me. But for some reason, I just felt so defeated, like my body was working against me. And I didn't want to get like that. But I just felt like, this is what I get. I'm not going to be able to do this. It's too much. And my birth photographer, Sarah, actually sat there and she spoke to me and told me I was okay. She had actually given birth a couple months before me. The back labor that I was feeling, she felt even longer. She had back labor for, I think, 4 days. And she was just affirming me and talking to me. We talked about sexual trauma because I started to think about that. I just started to really get down on myself. And she actually, that was my first time meeting her. And she spoke to me and spoke life into me and motivated me to keep going. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. Like, if you can survive 4 days of this, I can do this. I can, I'm okay. I was made for this. I'm already doing it. And I started to really think about the money I've already spent into it, the time, the preparation, the Hypno Babies course, like everything, getting my husband on board, and how much I was so excited to be doing something that no one in my family had ever did, that I was like, okay, I can do this. So I got up and we started lunging on the stairs again. We did all 2 flights. I have 3, but we did 2 of the flights. We came down to my the man cave, which is an open space, and my husband turned on Beyonce Homecoming, and I was doing lunges, and we were laughing, and basically he took my mind off the fact that I was in labor, and I started to feel like I wasn't. And he was just, my husband was like a natural doula from there on. Like, once he knew what he needed to do, he was doing it, and I started to feel better. And then we went upstairs, and my midwife brought out the birthing stool, and I was anti-birthing stool. I did not like the birthing stool at all. She said it was really, people love it, and she asked me if I wanted to birth on it, and I was so against it. I wanted to birth in the water. So she brings out the birthing stool, and the stool was hard. It was wooden. And I just didn't understand, how was I supposed to get comfortable on this thing? It was wooden. It was hard. It was kind of cold because my house was cold. And I don't think I had enough cushion to sit on it. So I was really upset with trying to sit on it. So we ended up having me lunge on it with my leg kind of pointed parallel to it so it would open me up. And my doula kept just saying open, and I kept visualizing it open and breathing, doing the J breathing and the all the different breathing techniques of breathing down my baby. And I talked to her and I said, Zoe, it's okay. You can come out. It's safe out here. We're ready to meet you. I did a bunch of internalizing to get her to progress, because I didn't want to be that when I got checked again that I had not changed and only went to maybe an 8, or not an 8, but like a 7 or something. Like I was really trying hard for this. So I ended up getting checked again at 7 a.m. and I was an 8. Or Katie said I might have been a 9, but she didn't want to give me that. So she told me 8. So I was really excited. They started to fill up the birth pool. And I'm like, yeah, I can just go with my last 2 centimeters in the birth pool. So they got it all hot and ready. And I think when the pool was getting filled, I started to go through transition because it was really, really tough. I started to feel like I was going to crawl out of my skin. Like I felt hot. I couldn't focus. Like I was losing my focus, and it just felt like I was being ripped into 2 or something, is the way I could kind of remember how that moment felt. Like it was a pivot change in my birth. So they ended up filling it, and I immediately got in, and it was so relaxing. That was the most relaxing moment of my birth. I felt kind of like a mermaid, like a fish. I was able to just move around, and they were constantly just coming to check her heart tones. And that's the only time I was still. But the birth pool was so relaxing that it relaxed her. It started to stall out my labor again. So I was only in the birth pool for, I think, an hour or 45 minutes before they had me get out. So they had me get out again, and I went back to the birthing stool because that seemed to be the way I was able to progress. So I ended up just doing lunges on the birth stool, and my husband helped me and supported me as I lunged and tried to just be open and breathing and everything that I could do for the next 2 centimeters. So I ended up, I believe it was my doula or my midwife's assistant, Deborah, gave me a mandarin because they noticed I had not eaten. And they were concerned that I had not eaten and that I should eat something. So she was like, just 1 mandarin should be okay. Just 1 of the little slices of mandarin, you should be fine. Well, I got a slice, and then I ended up throwing up. And when I threw up, my water actually broke at the same time as me throwing up. It was the weirdest experience ever.
I was going to say that has to be a weird sensation. Like, what's happening to my body?
It was coming out of both ends. I was like, oh my gosh. And I was on my carpet because I had missed the Chuck's pad completely.
Of course.
On my carpet, and I'm looking, and I'm like, what is that? And I thought it was just pee because it had just like a little color to it because some of it did get on the Chuck's pad. I'm like, it looks like pee. And it looked kind of green, but I was also puking at the same time into a bucket. So it was just coming out of both ends. And they were like, oh, your water just broke. So they called my other midwife. She was in our guest bedroom. They had been taking like turns of laying down and sleeping and things. So it started to really move. Everyone came in. They opened up the blinds and let the natural light in. And I'm like looking around, like, what's going on? What is everyone doing? And the birth assistant was concerned that it was maybe meconium in it. But Cindy came and she looked at the Chuck's pad and was like, nope, that was just her water. Cindy was the calmest person ever. Like, it was just like, she's done this a million times. I don't understand how she was so calm. She was just tranquil and calm the entire time. But they moved everything. They started really getting everything. Everything was kind of set up already, but they started warming up the receiving blankets and really getting ready, because I was telling them, I feel like I have to poop. I was like, I have to poop. I have to poop. I need to poop. So they tried to get me into my master bathroom and sit on the toilet. And I was like, no, I can't sit. I can't sit. So I didn't want to sit. And they were like, well, try sitting reversed. So I tried that, and I was like, no, I have to poop. I'm telling you, I feel like I have to poop. And everyone's around me is just like, trust your body. Just trust your body. I'm like, what does that mean? Like, and my, the other midwife, Katie, grabbed my hand and she was like, bear down. And I was like, what does that mean? And I was getting kind of frustrated because I'm like, everyone's just around here saying, trust my body. So I'm thinking to my body, like, how do I trust you? Like, what are they telling me? Like, what does that mean? Trust your body. So I just started to poop. I was like, I feel like I have to poop, so I'm just going to push because I have to poop. So I was on my bed on all fours, and my husband was facing me, and everyone else was behind me. And they were like, just trust your body. So I was like, okay, I feel like I have to poop, so I'm just going to push. So I started to push, and I heard, we can feel her head. And I was like, well, it hurts, it burns. And I didn't know at the time that was that ring of fire everyone talks about. It felt like a burn, like a hot steam or something. I can't even describe it because it's weird. I can't remember the feeling anymore. But that happened, and I was like, oh, no. It was kind of like it happened. I was like, oh, no, don't do that again. Don't push again, because that's what's going to happen again. And they were like, just bear down, trust your body. And they asked my husband, and they said, Devon, do you want to see? So he instantly tossed my hands, ran behind me, and my Katie ended up grabbing my hands, and she spoke to me, and she said, Zoe's going to be here, and I know she's going to have all this hair, because I had the worst heartburn my entire pregnancy as well. So she's like, she's going to have all this hair. You're going to put her in little puff balls, and she's going to be so beautiful. You just got to trust your body and bear down. She's like, when you feel it, you just push. On your next contraction, I want you to push until you can't anymore. And I thought about it, and the next one came, and I did exactly what she said. I pushed, and her head came out. And the next one came right after that. I didn't even get a moment to breathe. And I pushed the rest of her out, and her body came out. And I instantly heard everyone crying. I didn't know why everyone was crying. I thought she was making sure she was okay. And I bent down and I got her. But they were all crying because of my husband's reaction being so raw. He was crying that it made all the women in the room start crying. And it was honestly the best feeling ever.
Yeah. That sounds like a really, really amazing moment.
Yes, I actually have the birth video on my Instagram.
Oh, good.
And it was shared a bunch, and everyone's favorite part is my husband calling out my daughter's name when he starts seeing her head come out.
We'll have to link to that from the show notes page, and maybe I can reshare it on Instagram too.
Yes.
Awesome. So then once she was out, how was the placenta and postpartum recovery?
It was amazing. So my placenta came out. I actually didn't know because I was busy at the top of my bed. She immediately latched. And actually, before she even latched, she sucked her thumb. And they were really surprised that she was sucking her thumb. So I was like, well, maybe that's why she wasn't coming out, because it seemed like she wasn't progressing, because maybe her arm was in the way. Maybe her arm was by her face is what we kind of thought. So I was like, maybe she was sucking her thumb in there. She was just so relaxed and calm, which is how she is now as a baby. Like, now that she's out, she's really calm. But my placenta was fine. I actually, Katie was so nice to teach me my whole pregnancy. I learned so much about my body and our bodies and how everything works and everything. So when my placenta came out, she actually showed me it, and we touched around it, and she said it had like a crunchiness to it. in certain parts. And she was like, did you drink almond milk? And I was like, yeah, I drink almond milk. She was like, yep, that's what this is. And I forgot what she called it was. Yeah, like she could tell that I drank almond milk or something about my placenta because it has like crunchy parts.
Interesting.
It kind of seemed like, if I described the feeling, it kind of was like nerds inside of,
Oh my gosh.
what is it, slime
Interesting.
that kids
Yeah.
make? It was like that, like crunchiness.
Hmm.
And I was like, oh, I didn't know that that was a thing. Like you can tell what, you know, how it was. And she showed me the two sides. She's like, this side was yours and this side was Zoe's. It was really nice. And my doula took it and she encapsulated it for me and brought the pills back the next day. And she put them in strawberry gelatin. So I really didn't get a strawberry taste, but they were easy to consume. Postpartum, my husband had to go back to work since he was he's an EMT, and he also was still in his spring semester of respiratory therapy school. So he was constantly at work. But my daughter was really easy. It felt like she had been here before. Maybe she was, the first couple of weeks, she was sleeping a lot. And it concerned me because I'm like, shouldn't she be eating? But she didn't miss any meals. She was making sure that she did. When she was awake, she did eat. But she was very easy at night. With him still working nights, I was really concerned that I would need a postpartum doula. But I was like, well, let me see how this goes. But she made it really easy on me. I got a lot of time to snap. I binge watched a couple shows on Netflix. It was really, really easy, which is frightening because it makes me not want to have any more because I know the second one will not be like that at all.
Oh, maybe they will be.
I don't know. I heard the second child makes you run for your money. Like makes you work.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome that she was just easygoing and good eater, good sleeper.
Yeah, she was it was so odd. I'm like, have you been here before? I would talk to her and I'm like, who are you? Who sent you? How do you request this? And I didn't know because I worked, I ended up working nights my pregnancy. So me and my husband were on the same schedule after a while when I got to my second trimester. So I was like, maybe it was my schedule. Like maybe she sleeps so well because how my work schedule was that she just got used to my wake times and things. But she was very easy.
That's awesome.
And now she's teething. So she's a whole different person.
Yeah. And then did you have, how long was your maternity leave?
We get in the Navy, well, in the military, we all get 12 weeks.
Okay.
So I just went back to work May 13th.
Okay. And how's that transition been?
With COVID, it's been a little odd. She's fortunate enough that me and my husband are still on opposite shifts. I'm on day schedule and he's on night still. So she's fortunate enough to still stay with my husband, even though we're both essential workers. And my command right now, we're doing 1 week at work and 1 week at home and 1 week at work and 1 week at home. So you're only working 2 weeks out the month. So it's not that bad. I'm not a fan of pumping. I wish I could just take her to work with me and just have her latch.
Yeah.
Because I realized I don't respond well to my electric pump, but I can. So I had to get a manual, and I'm so much better at manual and the hookah. Like,
oh, interesting.
Better for me. Yes. It's so weird. Like something about the electric, I don't get, it doesn't move it, I guess.
Yeah.
Even with me massaging it at the same time. But the transition has been pretty easy. With her being at home, I think I didn't have that much anxiety because me and my husband went over a bunch of things before. And she took to the bottle well her first day when I was gone. And he still was able to keep her on the same schedule that she was on, the little bit of schedule that she does have. But yes, it's been pretty easy going.
That's great. All right. Well, do you have any resources that you want to share?
I would just recommend any mom, first, second, third time to get a doula. Doulas are lifesavers. They should be covered by medical insurance because the things that my doula answered for me were crazy. She was like my Google. Literally would text her in the middle of the night, and the things we spoke about, and her just sharing her birth with me and being there and just being that support person, not just for me, but for my husband. He couldn't understand that she was also his doula.
Yeah.
Even during
Sometimes
my
more
birth,
so.
she tried to make sure that,
Yeah.
she tried to make sure that he ate as well and things. He's like, no, I'm not leaving her side. She's like, Devon, it's okay. You can go eat. And he honestly could not wrap his mind around the fact that she was also there to support him. But that I also used Hypno Babies, and I enjoyed the course. I did it on my own since we don't have any instructors here where I live, and it was really helpful. It helped me see things in a different perspective and change my language. And the language, I guess, kind of mattered more to me. The way it, even going from saying a contraction to pressure wave, I actually started thinking of it like that. Like when the contraction would peak, I would picture a wave, since we are around oceans here in Virginia, or picture a wave, and then the decline. I was like, okay, that's over. And now I can breathe and I can do whatever I was doing, is kind of how I pictured it. And listening to the birth hour, I listened my entire pregnancy. I believe my midwife, Cindy, actually told me, because I love podcasts, like, you should listen to the birth hour. So I started to listen, and I would listen at work, on my drive home, my drive to work, in the shower. I was obsessed. I would literally text my husband and be like, hey, listen to this story. And it was just something about it. Like, I loved when I read the show notes and it was a first time mom. Those were normally the ones I would listen to a million times, like at least 2 to 3 times, just to get that experience from a first time mom, how they went through it, and know that I can do it. I think that's everything that I did use.
All right. Thanks for sharing those. And then did you want to share where people can connect with you?
Yes, I can be found on Instagram. My Instagram is tiaralachey.p. So it's TIARALASHAE.p.
Okay, perfect. We'll put that on the show notes too. Thank you so much for sharing today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, Bryn.
Now I'm going to talk with Sarah from Britax all about rear facing and why it's so important for your little ones. Hi, Sarah. Thank you so much for coming on the birth hour today to talk to me a bit about rear facing and some safety tips for car seats.
Well, thank you, Bren. I'm excited to be here today. I always enjoy sharing information with caregivers on how to keep their little ones safe.
Can you tell my listeners a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Sure. I am a National Child Passenger Safety Technician and instructor, and I get to work with families, whether it's in a classroom, at a caregiver event, a car seat check, sharing information and helping them use their car seat properly and making sure that they're using the right car seat for their child.
Great. And today we're going to focus on rear facing. I have, my oldest is 8 and then my youngest is 1. And I feel like this has become, more and more talked about, which is great. So I'm glad we're covering this topic today. In your opinion, how long should a baby or child ride rear facing in the car?
That child should ride rear facing as long as possible. So if you chose to use a rear facing only, that bucket car seat, you have moved on to either a convertible that has a higher weight rear facing capacity or a all-in-one type car seat. Again, having a higher weight rear facing capacity than that rear facing only bucket seat. So typically you're using a car seat that can hold a child between 40 and 50 pounds rear facing. So leave them rear facing until they reach the maximum height or weight or any other guidelines that the car seat manufacturer has put on your specific car seat. They don't know what facing forward looks like until you show them what it looks like. And of course, you always want to comply with the state laws. And there are maybe about 12 states right now that do have rear-facing requirements that children must ride rear-facing at least until the age of 2.
So what's the most common reason that a caregiver would want to turn their child forward-facing?
There's a couple actually, and I'm not really sure that one is more prevalent than the other. It kind of depends on the dynamics of the family, I think. But the two that I would point out most common would be that the caregiver wants to be able to see the child during travel. They want to be able to hand them the items that they might drop or that they might need, or that the child has a medical condition that they need to be able to visually see them. And then the other one, and I guess as I think about it, it might be a little bit more common than the first, but that's when the child's feet start to touch the vehicle seat back, and they'll push on the seat back and kick it. And we as adults, first and foremost, we look at that and we go, well, that's uncomfortable, because there's no way that we could sit like that. I often ask families, so did the baby raise their hand and say, hey, I'm uncomfortable? That it's likely they did not. I have 2 granddaughters, and they both sat rear facing until the age of 2. They did turn about that time frame because of family desires to do so. But one of them sat kind of with one leg crossed and one leg hanging over the edge of the seat. The other one kind of sat crisscross applesauce for a while. We need to remember that those children are much more flexible than we are.
Yeah, and if you've ever watched a toddler playing, they can sit in a squat position for, 20 minutes, things we could never do. So yeah, it's definitely not how we would feel in the seat.
Yeah, exactly. Right. We look at them and go, I can't get down there. Never mind, get up. But
yeah. So why are children so much safer rear facing?
So statistically, from crash data, frontal crashes or frontal impacts of your vehicle are the most common type of crash. If you think about us as adults, when we're in that type of crash, our injury often ends up being whiplash, neck injury. So a child who's riding rear facing is not exposed to that, because when they're rear facing, that car seat that moves towards the point of impact, being the front of your vehicle, the hard shell of the car seat actually will cradle their head, neck, and spine, keeping it all lined up. So it's protecting them while the highest forces of that crash event are being applied. If they were to be forward facing, their skeletal system just isn't strong enough yet to sustain the same forces that you or I can as an adult. And even sometimes they're not the best for us either.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So a lot of parents will also wonder about accessories to go with car seats. Are those safe to use? Do you have any recommendations?
So a few years ago, car seats, as one example, inserts, positioning inserts, those fluffy pillows, didn't come with car seats, right? And those are one of those things that are on that aisle. Today, look at your car seat that you've purchased, and they come with multiple inserts sometimes that are used to position children, make it look more comfortable. My best recommendation for any accessory that you want to buy to use for your car seat, is it approved for use with your car seat by your car seat manufacturer. Now, unfortunately, you're going to see on most all of that packaging that it's been crash tested. Well, the unfortunate part is there is no testing requirements for car seat performance with accessories. So you or I could decide to go make these accessories, test them with 1 or 2 car seats, and say they've been tested. But every car seat will perform differently based on what you do to it. Okay. So again, simply check with your car seat manufacturer and ask them, or go on their website. Do they offer anything? As an example, Britex offers a full line of accessories that we have designed and tested for use with our car seats.
Yeah, I think the big one that has come up a lot in discussions with my listeners is the seat protector for your car. Okay. You definitely want to make sure that your car seat is, tested with the one that you choose, or one at all, right?
Yes, because you want to make sure that seat protectors do not affect you getting a proper installation as well. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the last thing I wanted to ask you about is, especially with newborns, we have that myth that you should never wake a sleeping baby. And so if you have one of those car seats that you can carry inside the bucket seat, can your baby continue sleeping in their car seat?
So we need, and I say everybody, we need babies to be taken out of car seats and put in a proper sleeping device, whether it's their crib, but a mechanism that is designed for sleeping. Car seats, even those bucket seats, are not sleeping devices. If you're going to the user guides for your car seats, you will find that there is warnings and notes in there to not allow babies to sleep in their car seat outside of the vehicle. And never, ever, well, we shouldn't leave them sleeping in their car seat, but, one of the unfortunate situations that happen is that people will bring their babies in, they will loosen the harness, and then the baby wakes and you may not be aware of it. And unfortunately, there has been some strangulation of babies sliding out of their car seat and getting caught up in the harness system. So from a positional situation, not having positional asphyxiation as well as strangulation concerns, those babies should always come out of their car seat and go into their crib.
Yeah, so it sounds like the sleeping in that type of car seat is for, when you're in the restaurant or the grocery store, clipped into the stroller, staring at your baby most of the time, not trying to let them take a nap on their own.
Absolutely, when your child is attended.
Okay, great. All right, well, thank you so much for chatting with me about this today.
Thank you very much, Bryn, and have a great day.
Thank you so much again to Tiara for sharing her birth story with us, and to Sarah for talking to me about the importance of rear-facing car seats. If you want more information from today's episode, you can head over to thebirthhour.com and search for Tiara's name in the search bar. Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed today's show, head to thebirthhour.com and click Become a Member to pledge your support. And as a thank you, you'll get an invitation to join our private Facebook group and access to exclusive episodes. Your vote of confidence and support means the world to me.